Hi, we're in Miami's Man Cave today. Thank you for joining us. We have an amazing interview with the next person that may be the mayor of our city, Eileen Higgins. Tommy, do you know that she will be the first chick ever to in Miami's Man Cave?
I didn't sign off on it, but I think I'm gonna go along with it for now.
Well, she is the first. And you know what? She is a super cool lady. I mean, I had her on the air with me at 1210 The Man back in 2020 when she ran for county commissioner. She's got just an amazing background. She's running in the election with the runoff on December 9th. I'm sorry, 9th, and the early voting December 5th through the 7th for the city of Miami mayor's race against Emilio Gonzalez. And it's going to be a good race. She beat him pretty good, but didn't get the 51% necessary or over 50% necessary to ward off the runoff. So there is a runoff with the two top candidates, and that is Eileen Higgins, former county commissioner, and Emilio Gonzalez, former city manager of the city of Miami. And we're going to joining us now is Eileen Higgins. Eileen, thanks so much for joining us here in the Man Cave. Welcome.
Happy to be there. How are you?
I'm very, very good. Thank you so much. I want to get right into the interview. And first question, what was with all that shenanigans about the election and trying to postpone the election for a year? It wasn't a good read for me. Can you just
Well,
edify me on how that
yeah.
happened?
Okay. City of Miami elections happen in off years, right? These even number years. And it means turnout is low. For example, we had theoretically a record turnout of 21% on November 4th, which is both great that it's a record and both really depressing that it's only 21% voter turnout.
Exactly.
So it
Exactly.
is important to move elections to even number years, but the city charter says you have to ask the voters permission to change the date of an election. So they did kind of the opposite. They decided to give themselves an extra year and take a year from the voters. And obviously, the courts did not look favorably upon that, which means when this coming August 2026, I expect that we will see a community driven process that will move those elections from even number years into odd number years. And that'll really increase voter turnout from probably 20% to closer to 80%.
Yeah, I just think that the whole process of how they did it with just the commission trying to sort of bulldoze an extra year out of their term, I guess I don't know, but it felt like a third world country move, you
It was
know.
it was sketch. And listen, it's one thing to take a year away from your term, but it's a whole other thing to add a year to your term. And by the way, even if you wanted to take a year off, you still have to ask the voters. So that's going to happen in August. And by the way, I've said many times that when I'm elected in the runoff on December 9th, I will put a proposal on the ballot to shorten my first term by 1 year so we can move at least the mayor's election to 2028.
Love it. Love it. Thank you. So, one thing I liked when I was doing my radio show back in 2020 and you ran for county commission, I just the story about you, your background before you were in public service, it sort of enthralled me. The Peace Corps, your background in education and a degree in mechanical engineering, all that. Talk a little bit about your background and what got you here today.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, I grew up, studied engineering. My dad was an engineer, so in my family, we didn't have much choice into what we studied. But that meant I got my start in manufacturing and the private sector and worked my way up and eventually was promoted to run some pretty large divisions of some pretty big companies. And in my mid 40s, they send you to kind of an executive development program where one of the exercises was to write my own obituary and then look at it the next day and see what was in there. What do you like? What are you proud of? And what do you think is missing? And the whole service aspect was missing for me. And that changed everything. Within a year, I had quit my big old corporate job, was the director of the Peace Corps in Belize and kept on with federal service to the country as a diplomat in the Foreign Service. So that was the moment, I guess, the day they coached me right out of the corporate world
I,
and
I
into.
guess I guess so. I mean, so what? So you went from out of the corporate world into, uh, you could even call it service, public service in a sense. You know, the Peace Corps. What got you into politics and that kind of public service?
Well, I when I settled in Miami, I wanted to keep making a difference. Of course, I had never thought I would ever run for office. I had, been a private person for 35, almost 40 years, and but when I had lived in Miami years ago, and then I had moved back in 2014, and really things weren't going as well as they should be. Housing was getting more expensive, transit hadn't been expanded, nobody seemed to be working on any resiliency projects, and guess what? The world's getting hotter and the water's getting higher and our storms are getting stronger, and I started to get involved in my neighborhood associations. And then one day we had an opening on the county commission, and a lot of folks said, Eileen, why don't you give this a whirl? And I thought, well, it's a special election. I'll give it a whirl. And and I began to realize that sometimes, in order to enact change, you have to be in leadership to make those things happen. And affordable housing is a great example. I'm 8 years on the county commission. I've already built 4,000 units of affordable and workforce housing, and I have 3,000 more in the pipeline. So that's kind of my engineering skills at work in government. So rather than sitting around talking about affordability, I'm actually building the homes that people need to live in that are affordable.
So important right now in our community. Um, so you just alluded to 8 years on the county commission. You left a seat 3 years early for a run at the mayor seat in the city of Miami. What caused you to do that? What drove you to do that?
Well, I serve a third of the city of Miami now in my commission seat. And I can tell you, as a resident and as a commissioner, the treatment that the people of the city of Miami receive at the hands of the city of Miami's government is intolerable, right? They have a code enforcement department that is weaponized. They are busy shutting down people's small businesses. They have a building department. If you just want to put in a fence, it can take you a year and a half to get a permit. And then it takes you another year for the building department to come out and let it get approved. If you want to build affordable housing, you can't even break ground for 2 to 3 years. And that level of frustration just led me to say Miami needs to be changed. We have to have a mayor that's going to get in there, roll her sleeves up, put some skills to work, and get things done for the people. And to say nothing of the corruption, right? Forgot to mention that. It's so pervasive. Sometimes we forget to bring it up, right? You've got people abusing their power, weaponizing government against their political enemies. They're always in court. I don't know what these guys do. They have no time to come to City Hall because they're always suing each other, wasting millions and millions of dollars. And there's no reason. We have a fantastic city. We need a government that matches the potential of the city.
What would be your top priority if you were to mention one thing? What would be that top priority as the mayor of the city of Miami?
Housing and housing affordability, right? Um, that was been my top priority at the county, and it's not going to change at the city. For example, city-owned land and county-owned land. That's how I built all those thousands of units. I looked at what land the county owned. We need to look at what land the city owns and make sure we're building housing there. I'll give you a good example. Mel Reese. We're getting the new soccer stadium, right? I'm pretty excited about getting a new soccer stadium. I know it's controversial, but I don't care. I'm happy about it. But the city transferred control of, almost 100 acres of land. That's a lot of land. And yep, we're getting a wonderful soccer stadium. But they did not choose to build one unit of housing. Had I been mayor when that deal was struck, I guarantee you there'd be some housing near the soccer stadium. Instead, it's all hotels. That's fine. It's near the airport, but the rest is all office buildings. And we can't have that. The city's land has got to be used for housing. It's the number one priority of every single human being you talk to in Miami.
Yeah, you mentioned just a moment ago government efficiency and how the city of Miami has been run in the past, and it's been almost embarrassing, one might say. How can you change that? What can you do specifically to make it easier for businesses to pull that permit, or or get that piece of business done with the city of Miami?
Well, some things are just simple. They're so simple, you're going to not even believe they do it. First of all, you can do different department reviews at the same time. Right? Now they do them one, whatever. The plumbing people look at it today, and then the electrical people look at it tomorrow, and then the tree people look at that. And bear in mind, they don't look at today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. They have 14 days minimum to comment. And if the fourth person in line has a comment, you start right over. In the county, we do all of that in parallel. So that's one of the simplest things you can do. But the other thing is all across America and in the state of Florida, artificial intelligence is being applied, particularly those first round of reviews. City of Honolulu, I know that sounds crazy to talk about Hawaii, but they have hurricanes there, right? So they have a very strict building code as we do. They've cut their permitting time in half by using new software that also harnesses artificial intelligence. There's many ways to do this. It just requires a mayor that goes to work every day rather than, I guess, whatever, Saudi Arabia. You got to go to the office. You got to be there every day. You got to look at the processes. As you know, I'm an engineer. I'm not afraid of looking at processes and problems and trying to fix it. It's not going to happen overnight, but if we don't start on day one, we'll never get it fixed. It'll be like this forever.
Amen. As you may know, I'm in the hospitality business. We operate hotels and short-term rentals. The hospitality industry is just in a real bad time. You see restaurants going out of business all the time. And a lot of that has to do with in the city of Miami with the processes to operate as a business in that area. Is there anything you can say to the people in the hospitality industry that might give them some hope that there's a better time ahead in the city of Miami?
Well, first of all, let's start with a new restaurant. If it's taking 2 to 3 years to get your permits and do your build out, you have spent money on rent. And for 3 years before you even open, you open your business already behind. Other communities can get your business open in 9 months, 6 months, 3 months, or less. And that's what we need to aim for. We want these businesses, particularly restaurants, expensive to build out and operate a restaurant. We want them opening as quickly as possible so they go in with this position of strength and cash on hand. The other thing we also need to do is we need to make sure that the elected officials who are talking about Miami's tourism and hospitality economy are inviting people to come here versus encouraging them to stay away, right? We have, I mean,
That'd be nice.
this is not, you don't need to be a rocket scientist here, but we have a culture in Washington that is telling people they're not welcome in America because they don't, whatever, look like me, act like me, sound like me, love like me, talk like me. And it's being echoed out of Tallahassee. And that has been evidenced in our hotel room rates over the past couple of months. That means we're going to have to depend on events, right? If we've got two governments driving people away, we're going to have to become more open to attracting visitors and sharing Miami's story as a welcoming community. Like we are thrilled that you want to visit us and build towards that. Fortunately, we've got World Cup coming. I know sometimes people complain about that, but I really believe with what's going on with this anti-immigrant rhetoric that our tourism economy could be decimated if we don't have the World Cup showcase our city as the magic place to come, and that you're going to feel welcomed here, you're going to feel safe here, you've got nothing to worry about, and pay no attention to Washington and Tallahassee. You come to Miami, you're going to have a lovely time, you're going to be safe, and we're going to treat you with respect.
It's funny you say some people aren't happy about the FIFA World Cup coming here. You alluded to that just now. In our business, we're euphoric about it, okay? Because what the type of tourism it brings. As a matter of fact, the online travel agency sites, they've been conducting online and in-person meetings. We just attended one at booking.com in on Brickell yesterday, as a matter of fact. And it's June and July, which aren't the greatest months for tourism here to start with. It's not the winter season. So I'm not sure who exactly would be complaining about getting the World Cup here, but trust me, it's not people in the hospitality industry. But talking FIFA, I saw some criticism from with you regarding the monies that you approved, along with others in the county commission, for FIFA to bring that event here. I see it as an investment. How did you see it
I
when you voted
I
for that?
see it as an investment as well, and I realize sometimes it's hard for residents to do that. But I'll give you an example. The city of Miami, I'm not yet there, but they are approving some money that will be reimbursed by the federal government. Well, the reason it's reimbursable by the federal government is because of a national task force that it was Chairman Mike Kelly from Johnson County, Missouri, Kansas City, which is also World Cup City, and myself. We chaired nationally what's called the World Cup Counties Task Force. And we went to Washington, we signed a joint level letter, went there and made sure that we in the budget got $65 million in reimbursements for security, right? So the fact that Mayor Suarez is able to say to the city commission, please vote for this $3.5 million so we can add extra police and extra fire and extra ambulances on duty. And we expect the federal government to reimburse it. That was because of me working Washington to make sure that money was in the federal budget. And so that's what we have to do. Yes, the city of Miami, is going to pay that out in the beginning, but we're going to get reimbursed. So that's the kind of way I work on FIFA. I make sure that everybody who's involved, including the federal government, this is good for the United States of America to have all these people coming. And it makes sense. It's the duty of our federal government to pay us back if we're having to use our own resources for the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, the economic impact of that event for our community is tremendous. I mean, the Super Bowl pales in comparison to the amount of people that will be coming for that series of games here. And we're fortunate in Miami. I mean, we have a quarterfinal match. We're here in a man's cave, so we got to talk a little sports, right? A
Yeah.
quarterfinal.
Who knew that it would be me that you'd be interviewing about sports?
Well, you're probably an expert by now, right? But
Actually,
we've got all these we've got a medal match, a bronze medal match going on here. So it's exciting stuff. And I will tell you, the people in our industry, hotels, restaurants, nightclubs, you name it, are salivating for this thing to come. And we see the importance of it because our marketing partners are telling us what it's mean. They know what it means. They've been through this all over the world. So kudos to you and on the county commission for making it happen. And again, the way I had viewed the 46 million or whatever that number was a great investment into our community. We excuse my language, piss money away sometimes. That ain't pissing money away. So transportation, it's bad everywhere in the county. I don't care what city you're in, it's bad. What can we do to try to get our arms around transportation and make it easier for people to move from one place to another?
well, the first thing is we've got to build out the smart corridors. I've led the transportation committee at the county. I'm the only commissioner, I think, in the history of the county that's gotten federal funding for two mass transit corridors. The South Corridor, $300 million project, went to Washington, was successful in getting that in President Trump's budget, actually, the last time. And that opened about 3 weeks ago in South Dade. The other project is a commuter rail line between downtown Miami and it'll go all the way to Fort Lauderdale. But importantly, in our community, it'll connect with 5 commuter stops between downtown and Aventura. So that'll be Midtown, Design District, Little Haiti, North Miami, and then the FIU Biscayne Bay campus. That corridor is just chock a block with traffic. You can take cars off Biscayne Boulevard, you can take them off I-95. And that just gives you a sense of, I, these projects take a long time, but the money for that train line was approved by President Biden. And then, of course, every 4 years you get a different president, right? You don't. That's how democracy works. And I made sure that that didn't get lost and eliminated in the transfer of from one administration to the next. went to Washington after the inauguration multiple times, went up actually with a set of business people to basically also be able to say this is important for business, that we are able to move our residents and get them out of traffic. And I'm proud to say that when the federal budget was passed, not only was there the money, the $65 million for safety reimbursements for FIFA, but also almost $400 million for us to build that train line.
But I guess my question is, as a mayor of a city, as opposed to being with the county, is there ways that you can formulate some sort of a plan within the city just to move people around from neighborhood to neighborhood that might make traffic a little less and make just getting around a little easier?
Yeah, there's first of all, the city has a trolley system. They haven't redesigned the routes nor the vehicles in decades. There's a lot of efficiencies that can be gained there. As a matter of fact, the county redesigns all of the trolley routes for every municipality when we redesigned our bus network to be more efficient. And the city commission, whatever, chaos on the city commission, what else is new? Couldn't pass it or didn't pass it, never got around to working on it. So that's still there, ready to be deployed. We also need to look at different kinds of vehicles. Technology has advanced incredibly. They're much smaller, they're electric, they're autonomous, and so there's many new technologies. There's a company called Glideways that I've met with many times here that have three amazing projects right now, just about under construction, places like Atlanta. They're very small. They don't take up a full lane of traffic. And then we also have Waymo. I don't know if you've seen the Waymo vehicles.
Yes,
They have a driver in them now. They're
yes.
mapping out the city, but Waymo should launch just after the new year. And I have been out to Phoenix, make sure that I am seeing those in operation in a community. They're obviously in San Francisco, so there's stuff to do. The city just, as you know, they're just always in court defending some commissioner or another from doing some shenanigan-y thing that's likely illegal. There's no time to do actual work for the people. I'm going to get back to work for them.
Awesome, awesome. By the way, the Waymo I saw them last summer, a year ago this summer in San Francisco,
Yeah.
and I tested it out. They are very safe. I asked my wife to jump in the middle of the road as one was coming down a hill to see if it stopped, and it
She's still
did.
alive.
So we're good to go. We're good. She wanted to kill me when I asked her to do
Right.
that, but
Next time
you
you
know,
do it.
yes, next time I do it. Okay, I want to be devil's advocate for a
Yeah.
second. And you see, listen, we know that we see stuff online
Yeah.
and in social media that's such BS all the time. And you get people that come to you, go, "Did you hear about so and so is such and such?" And you're like, "Where'd you see that? On TikTok?" Well, that's not the best place to get news. But I want to just be devil's advocate a second and throw out a few things that I've read negative on you online, and I want you to opine about it.
Sure.
Okay? Real quick. Okay. You sold out to developers. Opine.
Well, here's what I can tell you. Um, I have worked with developers to build 4,000 units of affordable and workforce housing, right? The county. To all of those folks that say that, I would suggest that they drive up to Liberty Square. The old barracks with no electricity and no light that were flea infested and mold infested are still there. They're waiting to be demolished. Every single person that used to live in those buildings is living in a brand new home that was built by people who are architects and engineers and construction. And yeah, we lump them in as developers. I just built a new building. If you go to it next to the Brickell Metro Mover station, it's appropriate for density. Like not everything is supposed to be high rise, but when you're right next to a train station, you could be a 29-story building. It's not a
Right.
single family home neighborhood. So that's about 500 units. 92 low income seniors live in that building. You look at its luxury. They pay between $200 and $300 a month for a one-bedroom apartment, walking distance to the Metro Rail, walking distance to Metro Mover, to the trolley system, to the Underline, to Southside Park, to a grocery store, to a pharmacy, right? And when I met with one of the gentlemen there, I said, "Where were you living before we built this building for you?" You know what he said to me? in my car. This is a
Yes, that's
man
that's what
in
people do in Miami. It's
a
unaffordable.
man in
Yes.
his late 70s.
Wow.
So I will always work to build affordable and workforce housing. I am not embarrassed about that. Not at all. And the thing about development, you got to be smart about it. It's got to be dense near transit, and then it's got to be appropriate for single family home neighborhoods, right? But we're not going to stop building and fixing things. We have got to build affordable and workforce housing. It's not a joke. It has to be done. It is the only way we get our senior citizens out of the backseat of their car where they spend the night and into a decent home.
Yeah, and young people in our community that can't afford to live. I mean, kids right out of college and so forth. I have 4 kids, and they all lived with me for a period of time, unfortunately for me, but they live with me for a period of time because they couldn't afford to live anywhere else. So
And it's funny, in the same building, we have another 100 units that are income capped for workforce units. And so, in general, it's all kind of youngish adults. And it's funny, you talk to the young people, these are 28, 29, 30-year olds living in units that are income capped. And you know what they say to you? They're like, what I really love about this building is people that are just like my grandparents live here. And that makes me feel safe. And you know what the old people tell me? I feel safe living in a building because young people live here. So we have not just built affordable housing, workforce housing, and yeah, some of the units are market rate. That's how we're subsidizing all of this. But you
right.
rich people, working people, and senior citizens all living together. They go to the gym together, although I think the young guys help the old folks out in the gym but that's what community's supposed to be. Like, people need a place to live. And we just have to be building properly in the right place. And the scary part is live local. I don't know if people know about that, but the state has just basically allowing people to do whatever they want, which is scary to me.
It is scary. But the bottom line, I guess, with this topic is that you need to have it's developers that are going to build these projects. It's
Yeah,
not
if
you
you
and me and
you
Tommy
me,
over here.
little I'll give you the screwdriver. You give me the hammer. It's never going to pass an inspection. We need
Yeah,
people that know what they're doing.
that's not going to work. No, no, ma'am. Okay, you're to blame for the $400 million deficit in the county budget. It's you to
Oh yeah.
blame,
All right.
Eileen Higgins.
Yeah, personally. Okay. So let's talk about what happened. A couple of years ago, the voters voted to split our county government. We used to have one county government. Now we have 6 county governments, right? 6 things always cost more than one, right? So
Yes.
there is a permanent shift of between 400 and 500 million dollars in order to run the sheriff's department, the property appraiser, the supervisor of elections, I forget the whoever else we've got, the other ones, the clerk. So we now have these 5 separate institutions that the voters voted for. I voted against it because I think it's dumb. I thought it was much more efficient to have one unified county government. So I'll give you an example. When we had one unified county government, it cost for our police department $800 million. That exact same police department now costs us 1.1 billion.
Wow.
Because don't forget, they now have to, by state law, have to have their own HR department, their own purchasing department, their own facilities management, their own people that whatever fuel up the cars. So and multiply that times 6. So $500 million of tax money is basically just, in my opinion, being wasted. And it's not because these people are misusing it. It's just that it costs more. And so the pressure on the mayor, she basically goes in without $500 million. And that's where she was coming from. And that's not going away. That money's never coming back. It is always in these other offices, right? So we have a property appraiser's office. It now costs us more than it did before. And unfortunately, the voters, just they chose this. And so that's really where those funds went.
Okay. The final thing on the negative side, and if you say next after me asking this, I would completely and totally understand. Miami's Zoran Mamdani is Eileen Higgins.
Well,
And if you
I
said
don't know.
again, if you said
Never
next, I would be
recognize.
happy.
Listen, New York has its own crazy politics, right? And by the way, we have our own crazy politics. But
Yes, we do.
when you look at what happened, right? Places picked the right person for what they thought was right. And so let's go to the races on November 4th for governor in Virginia, New Jersey. The two
Mhm.
women that won are kind of clones of me, right? They all worked their way up. They have practical careers. They're super moderate. They're results driven, right? And you look at people like Gretchen Whitmire. What is her tagline? Fix the damn roads, right? And so the people here picked me. I came in first with the 2-to-1 margin. They picked the most moderate person here, right? Everybody else was running way over, to the right, MAGA this,
Correct.
blah. And then you had, Ken Russell, who I'm not sure he lives on the same planet we do, like way over to the left. So Miami voters picked the middle, right? Which is exactly what Virginia and Maryland voters do. So people pick
Yes.
what's right for them and for their community. And so I feel very proud of being a moderate. I feel proud that I go into the race with, twice as many voters already having picked me first because I'm a moderate.
Yeah, I again, I said you could just say next when I asked the question because it was patently ridiculous to me,
Yeah, it's
but
ridiculous. It's just dumb.
it
It's a dumb question.
it's ridiculous. Now you gotta promise me one thing. I know you ran for US Congress, albeit briefly, in 2022. If you win this election in December, the runoff, you're gonna be our mayor for a while, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No
Oh,
worries.
oh, okay. So let's finish it here with a little sticker talk. You know how this goes. I hope that they've explained it to you, right?
No, but whatever. We'll wing it.
Okay. So if you look at this table that I broadcast
Yes.
on, there's a lot of stickers. Okay. And some of them say some unsavory things and some are, team logos and things like that. So what we like to do at the end of each interview is just pick something off the table and opine you and I just for a second about it.
Okay.
And the one I picked was
Don't
a
you
sticker.
think that would make my mom mad?
It would. It would. Yes, mine too. Um,
Okay.
so so this one says it ain't much, but it's honest work.
Yeah.
Tell me what that means to you.
I'll tell you what that means to me. It represents the men and women that um, are part of SEIU 32BJ. They're the folks that clean the bathrooms, sweep the floors in the office buildings all around here. The folks that also work there are the ones that stand out 24 hours a day on our transit station, no matter whether it's raining or whether it's hot or whether it's cold. And they often, if they aren't part of an SEIU 32BJ organization, they are mistreated, right? They end up with split shifts. They're not allowed to have health insurance. It's rough. So we, in an economy like ours, as we were talking before, that is so hospitality based and low wage job based, we have to remember every day that folks barely make ends meet here. And I work in this job, which is what I consider elected office, to go there every day for people like that. If I make their life better in any way and more affordable in any way, I feel as if I have done my job as a public servant.
Well, that sounds like honest work if I've ever heard it. Eileen Higgins, and I could call you Eileen. I don't have to call you because you're in between positions, so I
And
don't
then
have to
you can
say
call me Eileen Nicholas.
commissioner or mayor. Huh? What's that?
Everybody calls me Eileen.
Eileen, exactly. The first chick in Miami's new man cave.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us and good luck in the election on December 9th, the next mayor of the city of Miami. Eileen Higgins, right here in Miami's man cave. Thank you so much, Eileen, for coming
All
in.
right. Thanks. And I need that sticker.
You got it. You
All
got
right.
it. Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.
Ciao.